Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to do some subtle but pretty powerful strengthening, full body. We're not going to be doing a lot of movement, but we will definitely be engaging all of the muscles in our body from the feet all the way up through our fingertips. It's going to be subtle, but it's going to be good. Let's get started. So in this video, I want you to have either a yoga block, or if you don't have a yoga block, box of tissues. It's about the same size and weight, and it's a really great option. So just remember, don't grip it with your fingertips. Have your fingers open and you're pressing the block, which means you're engaging all of the muscles in your arms without squeezing. Let's get started. Have that block handy. We're going to start with a couple of rounds of breath of joy. It's just a really great way to work on your breath, get some movement, get the blood flowing, get energy moving quickly. And it's also a great way to get rid of some frustration at the same time. If you have any eye issues or head issues like glaucoma or migraines, skip this part and just do the breath without the movement. So stand with feet hip width apart. Take a big breath in. What we're going to be doing is arm motions, and you're going to breathe in 1/3 of your lung capacity, and then the second third, and then the full third. And then when you exhale, you're going to just release that as one big sigh, like, so let's get started. Feet hip width apart. Inhale, raise your arms up front, breathe in 1/3. Arms out, breathe in the next third. Arms overhead, breathe in the final third. And then exhale, you're going to just bend your knees and just go, sigh it all out. Inhale, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and let it go. Inhale, third, another third, final third. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, 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 and come back to standing. That's breath of joy, and I love it. Gets you moving quickly, and it also, just on that exhale, that just helps you get rid of any frustrations or tension that you might have. Have your block handy. Let's get working. So we'll come to the top of our mat, and we'll start with some standing cat-cow. Just get our spine moving a little bit more. So take your feet hip width apart, or even a little bit wider if you have any balance issues. The wider your feet are, the more stable of a base you're going to have. Soften your knees a little bit, and then take a full breath in and a full breath out. On your next inhale, you're going to take your shoulders back a bit and open up across your heart, and maybe put a little arch in your back, a little back bend. And then on an exhale, round forward like you're hugging a beach ball. Dip your chin. Inhale, open up across your chest, a little baby back bend. Exhale, reach forward, pretend you're hugging that beach ball. Dip your chin. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. 2 more. Now slowly inhale your arms up overhead and hold onto one wrist. It doesn't matter which one. And then pull that wrist to the side. So we're going to be doing a little side bend here, just getting our spine warmed up a little bit more. And breathe. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Just feel that lovely side stretch. Inhale back to the top. Switch which wrist you're holding. And exhale, pull it over to the side. Stretch the other side. And try to keep your base stable, and try to not let that other hip pop out. Try to keep those hips upright, and you're just twisting from the ribs up. And back to the top. All right, we're going to come into chair pose now. Grab your block or your box of tissues, either way. And remember at the beginning, don't grip it with your fingers. You're pressing it between your palms and using all of that arm strength to keep that block from falling out. No gripping with fingers. So we'll come to the front of our mat. Chair pose, feet about hip width apart, and we're going to sit back into chair pose. Have that block in your hands. So your rear end is going to go back. You want to look down and make sure you can see maybe the tops of your feet and your toes. You don't want your knees going forward. You want to sit backwards. Hold that block out in front of you and press it between your palms, and notice where you feel that. Maybe through your chest, all of your arms. Don't grip it with your fingers. Inhale, raise that block up overhead as you stand up. Exhale, come back down into chair pose. Notice your feet. Are your feet well grounded? Are you unbalanced? Or are you trying to stay fairly stable? Inhale, up. 2 more. Exhale, down into chair pose. Bring that block in front of you. Keep those arms engaged. Don't let that block fall down and don't grip with your fingers. Inhale, up. And once more into chair pose. Back down. Sink a little bit lower. You can do it. And inhale back up. And go ahead and bring your arms down. Roll out your shoulders. And we're going to do kind of the same thing using the block. So go ahead and move your arms in any way that you need to kind of release that tension. This time we're going to do it in a lunge instead of chair pose. So step back with one foot up on those back toes. And let's get set up with our lunge here. You're up on your back toes. That back heel, you're shooting a lot of energy at that back heel. The back leg is as straight as you can make it. And your front leg, your knee is right over your ankle. If balance is a problem, you can always hold on to a wall or a chair, or you can walk your feet out a little bit wider. Give yourself a wider base, and that's going to make you feel more solid and more balanced. So find your lunge here. Pull your abs in. So pretend like you have a corset on, and you're pulling your front ribs in together. Hold that block again out in front of you. No gripping with fingers. Press it between your palms. Inhale up. And then as you exhale, keep your lower body exactly as it is and just hinge forward at the hips. Remember, a lot of energy out that back leg. Notice your core and your back muscles holding you up here. Inhale back up. Once more, back down. Keep pressing your arms together. Pressing that block between your palms. Inhale up. And this time, go ahead and hold on to that block with your grip, with your fingers, and very slowly lower that block all the way down to the ground. Your core and your back muscles are really holding you up here. All the way down. Take that front foot, step it back just a little bit. So you have about 18 inches, a foot and a half in front of you. We're going to straighten that front standing leg and lift the back leg up. So you're resting on your block or on your box of Kleenex or arms to the floor. Back foot is really engaged. Those toes are pointing straight down to the mat. A lot of energy out that back leg again. Your gaze is straight down at the mat in between your hands. Go ahead and rebend that front knee. Come back into that back lunge. Hold on to that block and very slowly rise all the way back up again. Bring your block back down to heart center. Shift your weight to your front foot and step forward again. And hopefully you're really feeling that in your legs now. Slow, subtle movements, but a lot of energy. Roll out your ankles and your feet if you need to. Roll out your shoulders and arms. We're going to repeat that on the other side. Take a deep breath, and let's just reconnect here. So take a deep breath in, full breath. Full breath out. One more before we do the other side. Full breath in. Full, complete breath out. All right, other side. So remember, hold that block by pressing it between your palms. Don't grip it with your fingers. We're going to step back with the other foot this time. So whichever foot you had in front is now going to be behind you. Step back into that high lunge. Take a moment here and adjust your feet. If you need to, you can kind of heel toe your feet towards the outside edges of the mat. Make a little bit of a wider base. Your front knee is right over your front ankle. That back leg has a lot of energy shooting out that back heel. Try to keep that back leg as straight as you possibly can, raised up on your toes. And then remember our core here. Don't just let yourself hang out. Pretend like you have a corset. Pull those front ribs in. That block is pressed between your palms. Don't grip with your fingers. Straight out in front. Inhale up. And then as you exhale, you're going to just lean forward. Remember, keep a lot of energy in those legs. Tip forward, just hinging from the hips. Inhale up. Once more, tip forward, hinge at the hips. Inhale up. And this time, exhale. Go ahead and grip that block with your fingers. Very slowly, bring that block all the way down to the ground. A lot of core work going on right here, holding you up. Place that block on the front of your mat. You can adjust that front foot back a little bit. Give yourself a little bit more space. And we're going to lift that back leg off the mat, straighten your standing leg, and then really flex that back foot. Those toes are pointing straight down to the ground. Your gaze is also straight down to the ground. Your hands can be on that block, on the floor. A lot of energy right here, just holding yourself up. And then go ahead and shift, holding onto that block again. Lower that back leg down to the ground. Raise that block all the way back up to the top. And then exhale down through heart center. Go ahead and shift your weight to that front foot and step forward again. Pretty slow, but a lot of work, literally from our hands all the way down to our feet. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, keep that block up at the front of your mat. We're going to do a little bit of stretching, a little bit less effort this time. So we're going to come into warrior one. From mountain pose, hang out here for just a second and try something with me. Feet at least hip width apart. Maybe sway front to back, side to side. Find your center point. Now, notice your legs. You might feel your thighs engaged a little bit. Maybe your kneecaps are lifted up a bit. Your core is nicely engaged. Your shoulders aren't scrunched up. They're down and slightly back in mountain pose. Your palms can be either facing your hips or forward. Now, without actually moving your feet, don't move your feet, but think about energetically drawing your heels towards each other. So if these are your feet, don't move, but think about pulling your heels towards each other. Notice what you feel. That activates the entire inside column of the legs, inner thighs, even the pelvic floor, and you might feel yourself actually lift up a little bit taller just by thinking about pulling your heels towards each other. Fully engaged mountain pose. Go ahead and exhale and release that. This time we're going to step back into warrior one. Have your block handy at the front of the mat again. With your first foot, go ahead and step back again, but this time instead of being up on your toes in a lunge, drop that back heel down so that that back foot is at about a 45-degree angle. Play with it, see what feels good to you. Your hips are going to be squared off to the front short edge of the mat. Front knee right over front ankle. And your block can just stay right there. Okay, so in warrior one, we'll inhale our arms up overhead. If it's comfortable for you, you can clasp your fingers and gently look up and come into a baby back bend. And then go ahead and release your hands and bring them behind your back. Either clasp your fingers and press your elbows towards one another. If that's not comfortable for you, you can keep your elbows bent and just place your hands along your low back. Palms facing away from you. Either way, feel that nice opening across your chest, across your collarbones. And we'll come into humble warrior. So from here, equal weight on both feet. And think about pressing into the little toe side of that back foot. So you're pressing away from you. On an inhale, really open up and expand across your collarbones. And then on an exhale, we're going to hinge forward at the hips. Come to the inside of that front thigh. And stop right here. Your gaze is straight down at the mat. Your core and your back muscles are holding you up. If it's comfortable, you can raise your arms up towards the ceiling. If you don't have your fingers clasped, just keep your hands along your low back. Take a breath. Inhale, press up, and then straighten that front leg. Hop that back foot just a little bit closer in. And again, make sure your hips are kind of squared off towards the front edge of that mat. And we're just going to pivot forward again, and this is a really wonderful hamstring stretch. So inhale, breathe up nice and tall. Breathe your ribs up away out of your hips. And then exhale, forward fold. You can bring your hands down to that block, into pyramid. You can have your hands on your shins, on your thigh. Try to not round your back. If you're noticing that your back is rounded to try to reach the ground, come up a bit. Think about opening up across your collarbones and across your chest and drawing your shoulder blades together behind you a little bit. Exhale, fold forward, bend that front leg, shift your weight to that front foot, and step forward into a forward fold. And go ahead and sway this out here. Let your head fall really heavy, like it's a bowling ball. Hold on to opposite elbows. Your feet can be as wide as you need them to be to feel comfortable here. Soften your knees. Put a little bend in your knees. Sway side to side. And then very, very slowly, we're going to ragdoll up. So you're just going to stack your vertebrae one on top of the next. Let your hands and your head fall heavy. Just roll up very, very, very slowly. Full breath in, shake it out, and we'll do the other side. Make sure your block is back at the front of your mat. Stand up nice and tall, mountain pose. Again, think about drawing your heels together. Don't move your heels, but think about trying to pull your heels together. Feel that inner column of your legs really light up here. We'll step back with the opposite foot. Front knee is bent right over your ankle. That back heel comes down to the ground. Your foot is at about a 45-degree angle. Figure out what feels best for you. Press into the pinky toe side of that back foot. Warrior one, we'll inhale up tall. And you're welcome to stay right here, or you can clasp your fingers together. You can have your pointer fingers pointing straight up. It's up to you. And come into a baby back bend if it's comfortable for you. Try to keep your neck from going back too far. Breathe in and out. And then release your hands. Bring them behind your back. Again, either clasp your fingers behind your back or bend your elbows and just have them resting on your low back with your palms facing away from you. Feel that opening up across your chest, your collarbones. Take a breath here and just enjoy that stretch. Equal weight pressing down into both feet. Your hips are squared off towards the short front edge of the mat. We'll come into humble warrior. So inhale tall. And then as you exhale, you're just going to pivot forward at the hips. Long spine. You're welcome to keep your hands right where they're at or lift your hands up towards the ceiling. Your gaze is straight down at the mat. Or you're welcome to just keep your hands along your low back. And your next inhale, rise up slowly. Use your core and your back muscles to pull yourself up. Straighten out that front leg and hop your back foot forward just a little bit. Square your hips off again to the front edge of the mat. We're going to come into that pyramid pose again. So before we bend over, we're going to hinge at the hips. Before we do that, you're going to inhale, try to lift up tall. And exhale, hands on hips, bend forward. So you decide how far you can come down without rounding your back. Your gaze is going to be straight down at the mat. So maybe you're right here or here. Hands on thigh, hands on shin, hands to the floor if that's comfortable, or to a block in front of you. Just try to keep that nice long spine without rounding your back. If you find that you're rounding your back, lift up a little bit more. Take a couple of deep breaths here and just really enjoy the stretch in the back of that front leg. Now bend that front knee again. Step the back foot forward. And this time take your feet wide with your toes slightly pointed in. So your heels are maybe even off the edge of the mat. Toes slightly pointed in. Come into a forward fold right here, and you're welcome to just stay right here with your hands on a block. You're welcome to bring your hands down. Just enjoy the stretch and let your neck just be in a neutral position. The lower you come down, the more your gaze is going to shoot behind you. You decide what's comfortable for you here. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And now bring your heels in so that your feet are at more of a 45-degree angle with your toes pointing outwards. And we're going to come into Malasana, garland pose, which is a deep, deep squat. If you have any knee issues, go ahead and get down seated on the mat in whatever way is best for you to get down without hurting your knees. Otherwise, go ahead and join me by bending your knees. Remember, your heels are in and your toes are pointed out now. Bend your knees, lower your rear end all the way to the ground, and you decide where your feet need to feel best. Rise up, press your elbows inside of your knees, hands at heart center. Just really enjoy this inner thigh stretch, a groin stretch. And if this hurts your knees at all, please go ahead and just take a seat. We'll lower down to the ground, so hands to the mat, however is best for you. Go ahead and take a seat. We'll come into butterfly pose. So in butterfly, your soles of your feet are together, knees are out wide. If you need to, you can tuck a blanket or some blocks under your knees. It's up to you. Or you can take your feet a little bit further forward. Sit up nice and tall, maybe rock side to side a little bit. Take a big in-breath, full inhale. And as you exhale, dip your chin, round your back, and just roll forward as best as you can, whatever feels good to you. This is just feel good, so don't force it. It's just a really lovely neck and low back release. If you'd like to, you can walk your hands forward. It's up to you. And let your head just feel very heavy, like a bowling ball. Feel length in the back of your neck. Feel a stretch across the back of your neck. Let your shoulders just relax and just find a natural spot where they want to be. And then lift up. From here, we're going to take one leg out long. Point those toes up so you're activating this foot that's extended, and bring your other foot to the inner thigh. We'll just do a nice little hamstring and hip stretch right here. So take your shoulders. Before we do that, if you need to, you can always prop up this bent knee. It actually feels a little bit better for me. And if you don't have a block or anything, you can roll up your blanket and have that knee propped up a little bit. Your extended toes are pointed up. This foot is really active. Shoulders are going to aim towards that bent knee. So breathe up nice and tall. Breathe your ribs up away from your hips, and then very slowly walk forward. Don't round your back. So keep open across your chest and collarbones, and it doesn't take far to feel a hamstring stretch. Take a couple of deep breaths here. You might feel the stretch all the way down your calf and into your Achilles. Everybody feels this a little bit differently. So my right leg is extended. So I'm going to take the same hand, my right hand, and put it next to my knee or calf on the mat. Same hand as the leg that's extended out. Press that hand really hard into the ground and use that to lift up and open up across your chest into a twist. Your other arm, your opposite arm, can be raised overhead, or you can bend that elbow and bring it behind your back. Really feel this heart opening twist. Keep that extended foot really engaged. Those toes are pointed straight up towards the ceiling, and you're pressing down with this hand to lift up and shine your heart up towards the sky. And go ahead and release that, and we'll take that opposite hand to the mat or your shin or outside of this knee, and we're going to twist open in the other direction. And again, your other arm can be raised up, or you can bend that elbow and bring it behind you into a bind. It's up to you. And just take a few deep breaths and really enjoy this twist. We'll go ahead and release that, and we're going to switch legs. So this time, the leg that was extended, bend it. Take the other leg out long. Sole of this bent foot into the inner thigh. You can prop up that knee, roll up your mat if you need to. It feels better for me having something under the knee. You choose. This foot is really active. These toes are pointing straight up towards the ceiling. Breathe up nice and tall. Shoulders pointing towards that extended foot. And very slowly walk down towards that leg without rounding your back. So think about keeping your shoulders and collarbones open as you lean forward. And just feel that stretch in the entire back leg. You might feel it in different spots. Just enjoy that stretch. Lean into it. It doesn't take very far. Our goal here is not to get our head all the way down. Our goal here is to stay nice and upright so we can take a full breath. Just really enjoy that stretch along that back leg. So now, whichever leg you have extended out, take that hand and press it into the mat by your knee, by your calf. press down really hard and open up that other arm. So you're pressing down to lift up. That other hand can be extended a little bit behind you. You can look as far behind you as your neck is comfortable. Make sure your neck is okay. Or you can bend that elbow and bring that arm behind your low back. Keep pressing down with your hand into that mat. Really enjoy this twist. Take a few deep breaths. And just think about that opposition. You're pressing down to lift up. Now we'll switch hands. So go ahead and release that hand. Bring your opposite hand either to the mat, to your thigh, to your shin, whatever feels best for you. And reach the other hand behind you. Up overhead, you can look behind you again. Just make sure your neck is comfortable. Or you can bend that elbow and bring that arm behind you into a bind. You're still sitting upright and tall. Your collarbones are open. You're not rounding your back. You're keeping your chest lifted, and just kind of think about maybe spiraling your chest up towards the sky. Go ahead and release that, and we'll come back into butterfly pose. Just notice how you feel, see if you feel stretched out. So we did strengthening and stretching, pretty much full body with really nice slow movements, but we really definitely engaged everything in our whole body. So go ahead and sway side to side if that feels good, and then come into whatever seat feels best for you. So maybe cross-legged if you want to, or easy seat where you have your heels lined up. It's up to you. Just make sure you can sit up tall. If you feel like you're rounding backwards and slouching, prop a block under your tailbone or a folded blanket or a towel. Lift up a little bit so that your hips are neutral and you can sit up nice and tall. Hands wherever you'd like for them to be. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And we're going to take a few deep breaths together and then we'll be done. Take a few deep breaths. If you'd like to, you can put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Notice your hands moving as you breathe in and out. Your head is up tall. Your shoulders are relaxed. Just do a body scan here. Just notice how you feel. This was a really nice combination of strengthening slowly and subtly, but definitely strengthening with some wonderful full body stretches after. We'll inhale our arms very slowly up overhead. Palms together. Exhale down through heart center. And thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that. Namaste.